My wife, who has since passed away, and I became parents to my son before we even turned 17. Unfortunately, she passed away suddenly at the young age of 22, shortly after we tied the knot. Since then, I have been a single father trying my best to raise my child. It hasn't been easy, but I've managed to make it work. I haven't had much time for romantic relationships, as I've been focusing on my business and raising my son. But I will admit that I haven't been entirely celibate during this time. Throughout my life, I haven't had any significant romantic relationships. I never found anyone who was serious enough to meet my son. However, about 3 years ago, I met someone unexpectedly. I didn't expect to fall head over heels in love with her, but I did. Although the first 6 months of our relationship were more casual, we eventually realized that we loved each other and made it official. I was planning on asking her to marry me next month on her 26th birthday, and I was even going to ask my son to be my best man. Initially, I was hesitant to introduce my son to my girlfriend, as I wasn't sure how he would react. Therefore, we waited for some time before arranging for them to meet. However, after they finally met last year, everything went smoothly, and we've all hung out together since then. Of course, this year has been a little different due to the lockdown and my son being away at university, so they haven't seen each other much. Nevertheless, I didn't think too much of it. Recently, due to the lockdown restrictions, I haven't been able to see my girlfriend as much. Unfortunately, over the past couple of weeks, I've noticed that she's been quiet and moody. When I first noticed her being quiet and moody, I asked her about it, and she attributed it to feeling overwhelmed. Similarly, I've noticed my son being a bit withdrawn lately, but I assumed he was busy with university. When I finally saw my girlfriend again this weekend, I noticed that something was off and decided to confront her about it. She broke down and confessed that she had cheated on me. I was in shock and tried to get more information from her. To my horror, she revealed that she had cheated on me with my own son. Shortly before the November lockdown, my girlfriend was out with her friends when she ran into my son at the pub. They drank excessively, rode in the same taxi, and ended up having intimacy while intoxicated. When I found out, I immediately told her to leave and never come back. She pleaded with me, causing a scene and begging for my forgiveness. I then asked my son to come over and confronted him. To my dismay, he admitted that it was true. He acknowledged that it was a massive mistake and begged me to forgive him. I instructed him to find lodging elsewhere and informed him that I couldn't bear to be around him any longer. He's currently staying with my mother. While I haven't disclosed the details of his actions, she's aware of the gravity of the situation due to our close relationship. She has been persistently trying to contact me through various means of communication, such as incessant phone calls, emails, and text messages, all while pleading for another opportunity to reconcile. In an effort to rid myself of any reminders of her presence, I have collected all of her belongings left in my possession and placed them in a bin bag, which I have left outside her home in the front garden. I have even discarded the Christmas presents she had given me, allowing her to enjoy them ahead of schedule. The overwhelming emotions that I am experiencing at this moment are indescribable. These two individuals, my beloved partner whom I had hoped to marry, start a family with, and spend the rest of my life with, and my cherished son, who was not only my child, but also my closest confidant and friend, are the most important people in my life. Despite the many sacrifices I made to provide them with an exceptional life, they both stabbed me in the back in the most egregious way imaginable. The depth of betrayal is so profound that I do not believe I will ever be able to forgive them. From my perspective, they are free to be with each other, as I no longer want anything to do with them. The pain I am experiencing is overwhelming, and I am struggling to come to terms with what has happened. Update. Initially, I had no intention of providing an update due to the multitude of abusive comments and text messages that I received the last time. The negativity was overwhelming, and I did not want to subject myself to any more of it. I also received a tremendous amount of support from those who have stood by me during this difficult time. In light of this, I thought it would be appropriate to provide an update for those who have been supportive and caring towards me. Therefore, I've decided to share my thoughts and feelings with those who have shown me kindness and understanding. In essence, I recently had a meeting with AJ, my ex-partner. During our conversation, I asked her to tell me the truth about what had transpired between her and my son, and whether there was anything else that had occurred previously. She vehemently denied any wrongdoing, and passionately insisted that nothing had happened between them. According to her, it was a simple case of her enjoying a drink with her friends at a pub, and my son happened to be there as well. They shared a taxi, got drunk, and that was the extent of their interaction. My son confessed that he had feelings for her and made a pass, but that was the extent of it. During our conversation, she made several statements, including that she would never normally behave in such a manner. She went on to explain that because she had not seen me in some time. And my son reminded her of me so much that night. It just happened. I immediately told her to stop making excuses and to take full responsibility for her actions. No one else was to blame. Furthermore, I was honest with her about my feelings towards her. I explained that she was the first person I had allowed into my life and loved since my ex-wife passed away. In the past 3 years, I had been happier with her than I had been in years prior. In fact, I had been planning to propose to her. Despite the hurt and betrayal that I felt, I wanted her to know the truth about how much she meant to me and the impact that her actions had on me. As we spoke, she began to sob uncontrollably, repeatedly apologizing and asking for another chance. She expressed her deep remorse and stated that she would never be able to forgive herself for what she had done. While I understood her pain, I made it clear that she needed to come to terms with her actions and learn from them. I also informed her that our relationship was over and that I would be blocking her number and email, as I did not wish to have any further contact with her. After delivering this message, I left, feeling somewhat relieved. Despite the devastation I felt, I realized that seeing her in person had provided a sense of closure. Rather than feeling anger or hatred towards her, I instead felt pity, recognizing the depth of her regret and the pain she was experiencing. The consequences of her inability to control her drinking and sexual impulses have resulted in the loss of a meaningful relationship with someone she deeply cares for. Moreover, it is highly likely that her actions will continue to impact her future relationships for years to come. While I acknowledge that she bears full responsibility for her actions and deserves the outcome, I cannot help but recognize how immature she truly is. Prior to this incident, I had been blissfully ignorant of her immaturity because I was happy. This experience has made me acutely aware of it, and I vow to never allow myself to be in this situation again. As for my son, I recently had an epiphany when I made my previous post. As I sat there typing away at my computer, the anger inside me boiled over and threatened to spill out in a torrent of words that would surely wound my son deeply. Despite this, I knew that I could never truly disown him, for he was a part of me, my own flesh and blood, and I loved him with all my heart. Even though he was also my wife's son, I could never bring myself to cast him aside just to please her. However, the truth remained that he had disappointed me in ways that were almost unforgivable, and the trust and respect that I had once held for him had been shattered beyond repair. I decided to meet him and hear his version of events. To my surprise, his account was largely similar to hers, except for one crucial detail. He claimed that she had been flirting with him, while she had said that she was simply reminded of me by his mannerisms. Apparently, this was the moment when he had confessed his crush on her and made his move. Despite his attempts to justify his actions, I couldn't help feeling disappointed and betrayed by his behavior. I made it clear to him that while I still loved him, I could no longer respect or trust him after what he had done. I also confided in him about my plans to propose to her and even asked him to be my best man, hoping that this would help him see the gravity of his actions and make amends. As I watched him react to my words, I could see the pain and disappointment etched on his face. He was completely gutted and had gone silent before finally breaking down into tears. I knew that I had to be firm, and so I told him that we needed to take a break from each other for a while. He had to find a job and stop working with me on weekends, as he had been doing up until now. Furthermore, we needed to talk to my folks to see if he could stay with them for a bit, but I wanted him to be responsible and tell them why he needed to stay with them. He had to face them like a grown-up and deal with the situation head-on. I decided to drive him there myself to make sure that he actually did it. When he told them, they were devastated, not just upset, and it was clear that the situation had taken a heavy toll on everyone involved. The memory of my mom's expression as she listened to my son's confession will stay with me forever. The disappointment and sadness in her eyes were palpable as she told him how much she had trusted him and how she never thought he would do something like this. Despite this, I knew that my parents would never abandon him, and so I asked my mom if he could stay with them for the foreseeable future, but not for free. He had to pay his own way, including proper board, and contribute towards the bills by buying his own food. To my relief, she agreed, and I knew that he would be taken care of in their loving home. Out of respect for my parents and their generosity, I sat him down and showed him that I had transferred a large amount of money into their account. I explained that this was the money that I had been saving for Jay's engagement ring, and that it was now being used to support him during this difficult time. Despite everything that had happened, I wanted my son to have a tangible reminder of my love for him. That's why I decided to give him the money I had saved for Jay's engagement ring. I knew that he needed it more than I did, and I hoped that it would help him pay his grandparents' rent or any other expenses that he might have. When I presented him with the money, he was absolutely stunned and tried to give it back to me. I made it clear that if he did that, it would be the end of our relationship. We had agreed to have no contact for the time being, at least until Christmas. Despite the pain and heartache that I felt, I knew that we could still come together as a family during the holiday season. In the past few days, I have spent a lot of time reflecting on what had happened and how we could move forward from this difficult situation. In the aftermath of what had happened, I found myself reflecting deeply on the choices that had led me to pursue a relationship with Jay in the first place. At the time, I was flattered by her interest in me, even though I never would have considered dating someone so much younger than myself. Looking back on it now, I realized that there were deeper reasons at play. Jay was the same age as my late wife when she had passed away, and she also shared the same mixed ethnicity and job as her. In many ways, Jay reminded me of my wife, and I think that's why I was drawn to her in the first place. However, this realization also made me incredibly sad, as I knew that I could never truly replace my wife with someone else. At the end of the day, the responsibility for my choices lay with me alone, and I had to come to terms with the fact that Jay was not the right person for me. As I reflected on my experience with Jay, I couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness and loss. After all, she had only been my second serious relationship in my life. It seemed almost unthinkable that a 37-year-old man could have had so few romantic experiences, and that a woman 5 years older than my own son could comprise such a significant portion of my relationship history. At times like these, I couldn't help but miss my wife terribly. In an effort to cope with the pain and loneliness, I had been taking some time for myself in the past few days. I found myself re-watching old episodes of Alan Partridge, which had been a favorite pastime of my wife and I. There was something comforting about revisiting those memories and feeling close to her, even if only in my own mind. I'm attempting to contact my previous therapist, whom I saw after my spouse's passing, to schedule an appointment with him. Additionally, I may inquire if he is willing to treat my son as well. However, some individuals have raised the possibility of a conflict of interest, so I may ask for a recommendation for another suitable therapist. I appreciate the advice. Before I consider dating again, I need to focus on improving myself. Currently, I have too many personal issues to be a good partner. Furthermore, if and when I do start dating, I plan to implement a strict policy of only pursuing individuals born in the 1980s or earlier, with absolutely no one born after 1989.